Morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing well.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to share my screen. Once again, this is just some of the things that I've put together from what I've seen from corporate and what the company's talking about right now and what Dan's tracking and what the PSMs are doing. So I just want to make sure we're kind of all on the same page. Please have conversation around it. Please ask questions if you have questions. This is all about us being on the same page and making sure there's an understanding, as well as making sure I don't have any blind spots so that I can lead you the best way I possibly can. So if you have any thoughts, feel free. I can't see the chat, so feel free just to come off mute, interrupt me, and say whatever you're thinking, because I would really like to make sure we're on the same page here and that we're thinking and moving in the same direction. Can you guys see my deck? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so Dan sent out a email to everyone just before this. I texted it out to the Chesapeake team, but at the Virginia Beach team, you should all have it in your email, and I highly recommend taking a look at it. It's Dan's view on this year. It's a 7-minute video. It's a great watch, but I stole this slide from it and I put it in here. This is what Dan's talking about a lot this year, and this is what I'm probably going to talk about a lot as well. But I wanted to make sure we were on the same page here. So as we move in, I want you to think about the changes that we're making and what you saw in the convention, right? So we're going from this in-office, everyone comes in and does their taxes model to, hey, we're letting the customer truly pick how they want to be helped in any virtual format. We're way over hiring on CSPs and ATLs and trying to let the leader really be in that role. And then we're really focusing on, how can we grow small business, the financial elements that are imperatives, and this whole Block Horizons 2025 piece. It's a lot, right? And then we're completely changing how we operate in the space of 5 years. So my biggest thing and Dan's biggest thing that we're focusing on is this fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. And I think I've said it a couple times to the Chesapeake team, that whole thought of, the leader sets the pace for the pack. So when you think of your team and how you're leading them, your mentality around things and the way that you inspire and confidence and lead your team really is going to translate to the results that you get this year. So wanted you to think about growth mindset, that, I can learn to do what I want. Failure offers opportunity. I'm inspired by others. I learn from feedback. Mistakes help me grow. That whole we can accomplish anything mentality versus the fixed mindset of I avoid challenges. I stick to what I know. I give up easily. Failure is the limit of my abilities. But more than just talking about this, I really kind of want it to be part of our culture this year, especially through skills and when we're doing visits and just as part of the whole district. So my commitment here is, and it's not, and I'm just going to be forward, I'm going to call out when I see fixed mindsets, and I'm going to praise growth mindset. Because I think if we can change our culture to truly have a growth mindset, it will help us move in the direction to where we can get things done and we can inspire our teams to get things done. But if we're living in that fixed mindset place of, oh, we can't do that. Oh, that's going to be difficult. How are we going to be able to do that? It's going to set us up negatively from the beginning. I think of the quote, whether you think you can or can't, you're right. So that's just something that I want to focus on a lot this year for our team and to help our tax pros think that way. And I'm committed to trying to help us make that change as a district. I think we already have a really good growth mindset in both districts, to be clear. I just think it's something that Dan's focusing on. I think it's something we should focus on because it can help us kind of move in the same way. That being said, I'd also like you guys to keep me honest here too. If I say something with a fixed mindset, please let me know. If you hear someone else say something with a fixed mindset, let's make it part of our culture, and it's part of that straightforward, which is part of our actual block behaviors. And I really just want to try to lean into this as a whole team. Does that make sense? What do you guys think about this?
I agree. Sounds good.
Good,
Yep.
good. So please call me out if you hear me saying something with a fixed mindset. I promise I'm going to do the same to you, and it's not to make you uncomfortable. It is a little bit because I want you to grow out of that being uncomfortable, right? That's where you have growth. If you feel uncomfortable, it's because you're changing, right? But the reason I'm doing is I'm trying to help you grow and develop as a leader. And I think this is really where the base of everything starts as a good leader. A lot of it is about that growth mindset. This is the video Dan sent out, and I snipped the global tax priorities and just put my thoughts here, the translation from what I see through the company lens from the calls I'm on all the time. So the priorities for Block Horizons this year, right? They want us to achieve the client revenue and EBITDA goals, and read that as they want you to achieve your bonus. That's your bonus, is your client growth or return growth, your overall revenue, and your overall profit or EBITDA, earnings before income tax, depreciation, something else. So that's just hitting your goals. That's what we're going to track all season. That's not going to change. But then they also want us to deliver year 2 priorities. So for small business, our strategy is around the referral process and bookkeepers. That's the focus. They relaunched that referral program with a portal where each tax pro can actually see where those referrals go through. And then we also have the bookkeepers. So I want to be clear here. There's 2 operating models. If there's not a bookkeeper in the office, we use that referral program. If there is a bookkeeper in that office, or we hire you one this year in that office, then we refer them to the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper drives higher revenue, but overall, both of these things drive results. And then the tax pro, if they refer it through the referral process or the bookkeeper and they get sales, that tax pro will also get $50 for referring either in person or via the referral process. Any thoughts around the small business or any questions about what I just said about referral and bookkeepers? Just want to make sure we're on the same page here, because I know that, these are the biggest priorities of the year. Question for you. So to get ahead of this small business piece, what should we be looking at right now?
Making sure everybody's certified.
Bingo.
Done.
Thank you, Maria. That's exactly. So this is the way we can get ahead of this and really get results here, making sure everybody's certified. And one thing I want you to think about is that fulfillment network program that's coming out. If you're not small business, you can't pull the small business returns. So to be able to open your bandwidth as big as possible and get as many returns as possible, really want everyone to be small business certified. I've been putting it in the PSM chat. So Dawn, I know you have it for Virginia Beach to the tax pro level. Steve actually just emailed me the updated file as I jumped on this call with you guys. So I'll send another one to the PSM chat. But for my Chesapeake people, if you look at our teams, once again, and I've sent this out an email a couple times, but if you hit here where it says ready to serve in our teams for Chesapeake, I have this updated file where you can sort by your name, and then you can come over and see who's done with their small business. And I'm updating this every morning, so you can see where they are, who's certified, who's done with P10s, who's done with CEs, and you should be following up on this every day to make sure that we're moving all the people across the line and all of our imperatives, and we'll be ready to serve. Financial products. So when you read that, that's really about the banking app, but how we can control it in the field now is selling add-ons and including those small business add-ons. We talked about this. We're going to track that throughout the year. We sold very little small business add-ons last year, so I plan to fix that during skills when we really address it. And then lastly, block experience. Whenever you see someone talk about block experience, just read that as virtual. That's your virtual percentage. That's the focus. And as a reminder, it's up to 20% of your bonus this year if you get to 40% virtual for your team. So that's what whenever you see block experience, think of virtual. And then lastly, they want to strengthen our high performance and supportive culture. So we have a heads up here, and we're ahead of the pack. So for the Chesapeake team last year, I sent everybody the book Radical Candor. If you lost it or never read it, feel free to buy it and expense it. Same with Virginia Beach. If you'd like this book, order on Amazon, or you can buy it as an ebook or whatever works for you. Put an expense report in and I'll approve it. Highly recommend you read it. And the thought process is, one, it's the way I manage, but two, Bob Moretti, who's the CEO of retail for H&R Block, has also, it's the way he's managing to try to drive a supportive culture. And he's having all of the DGMs read it and be part of a 3-hour seminar around it that has action items, and the regional team is doing it as well, and the market team is doing it as well. So when you think about the culture of our company and knowing how to fit in with the culture of the company, which is a big piece, it's all going to be about that, around that book, Radical Candor. So highly recommend you take a minute to read it. It's a short read, it's very engaging, and feel free to expense it if you haven't. So that's the culture piece, is very similar to that Radical Candor piece. The priorities, the referral and bookkeepers, add-ons, and virtual, which is really what we tracked on that MVP report in Chesapeake last year, and we'll do the same kind of thing starting here next month as just kind of a how are you doing report. And then, of course, hitting client revenue and EBITDA goals. But if we deliver on those priorities, that's what's going to help drive those client revenue and EBITDA goals, as well as our mass texting each month. I think will help a lot too. So I know that's kind of our plan in a nutshell, but I wanted to address it because Dan sent it out and said that, hey, these are his priorities. So I wanted you to see through my lens how we're translating that to the district and some action items we're going to take. So any questions around that? Does that make sense? Any comments? Just what do you guys think? Does it make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I read the book last year and I started using it, and you can feel the difference in the office and how people relate to each other.
Absolutely. Same here.
It's an easier way to lead too, right? I could sit here and micromanage everybody, or I can focus on developing leaders and trusting them in their role and supporting them, right? It makes your job easier. So if any of you have any questions about this, or any of you have any thoughts about this, feel free to reach out to me later. I'm going to send this deck and the recording out to everybody after this call, so you'll have it as well. But this is kind of the company's focus. You saw the video, or will have access to the video of Dan's focus around it. And then I wanted to show you my lens around it and how we can turn it into an executionable, and really how I'm thinking about it. But feel free, I could have blind spots. There could be something I'm missing. Feel free to let me know if I'm missing something here. So let's jump into a people update. This is updated as of yesterday. The DNA is not updating this morning, but all 3 districts are in a pretty good spot. So Dawn and Maria, can you just kind of give us an update around people metrics and anything you may need from the team?
Well, I was just talking to Teresa. I have lots of good candidates for receptionist right now. My file overfloweth. It's those ATLs. I've got interview request out on Sign Up Genius, and I've sent it to so many. But if you have my MTLs have been wonderful in helping, and I definitely don't hesitate to call me if you've got anybody that you think is worth interviewing.
Yep, for sure. And November 15th is the deadline for that. As a MTL, I would be putting a lot of your focus there right now, because having that extra person and having those people in the offices that are good, if you have good ATLs that can almost run like a TL in an office, then it really allows you to step back as the leader and not be stuck in the weeds. So great area of focus. Anything you need from the MTLs in Chesapeake, or anything that I can help support you with, Maria, at the moment?
No, I just I guess I'm running out of ideas on where to grab them from. But I apologize. I'm posting back on Indeed again this morning.
Not a problem. Can we touch base? Can I call you at 12?
Can you make it 12:30? I'm getting my shot at 11.
Not a problem. I'll tell you what. Call me at 12:30 or whenever you're free afterwards.
Okay.
I can cancel the call I have around that time, and we'll talk through some things, and I'll try to help you get over that barrier.
Thank you.
For sure. Dawn, can you give an update to the team and share anything that you need help with, or any thoughts?
So right now, we have interviews today, and we have interviews tomorrow. I think we're around maybe 20, 25 interviews that we're going to be doing between today and tomorrow. And that's for first year accelerated tax professionals. We also will be interviewing the rest of the ATLs. Right now, our ATLs are at 71%. However, we have a few that are in background check. So technically, we need 2 more ATLs to be at the 14 that we would need on paper. But we're hiring over with ATLs. As well as hiring over for first year tax pros, because we know that the December timeframe, they've either found another job or they're no longer interested, or they didn't pass the course, or whatever that may be. But we've already experienced that in the past. As far as CSPs, we have our priors that we have. That's not very many. However, we'll work on that. I just gotta get the first years and the ATLs completed, and then we can work on CSPs. As far as my team goes, my team is great. They have stepped up to the plate. We have a team for small business. We have a team for the hiring. We have a team for the P10s. I don't have to worry about P10s as a PSM. That's not my role anyways. But we've designated that out. So Dawn Kay's done a good job as well. So my team, I know if I call them, they're willing to step up to the plate. Monica is our tax guru, and she's done wonderful as texting all the tax pros, the students, ATLs, setting up Sign Up Genius. So I'm pretty proud of my team this year, even though not having a DGM in the beginning and having to call you for advice and guidance. And we all thank you for that. And thank you for stepping up to the plate for our district. That was very important to us.
You guys are totally crushing it. I mean, right now you guys are just doing fantastic. So I'm really proud of you guys, especially pulling together and just making it happen. Like, huge kudos. One thing I would mention for both of you: don't get caught up on CSPs quite yet. And the reason I say that is because they moved that deadline out, right? We're not doing that till like late November, early December. I would focus more on the small business piece, the CEs piece. Let's get all of these 100% and put the focus there while we can until we get to that next spot. Just as a suggestion from what I'm seeing with CSPs being pushed out. That, and we don't know the rate yet. I got a rate this morning, like I said, and I went to Susan McHugh to negotiate, and they're trying to increase that just because I want to make sure we have as much ammunition as possible. But I want to have a realistic, what can we actually pay them so we can actually recruit there. So I would just be careful. If they worked for us before and were CSPs, go for it. Let's go ahead and get them in. But if they haven't worked for us yet, I'd wait before putting a lot of energy into recruiting those CSPs, because one, they're going to have to wait, and then 2, we don't have a pay rate. And then once we get the pay rate, we don't know if they're going to stay. So usually we see a lot of bleeding there, just as a suggestion. But overall, huge kudos to Maria and Dawn. You guys are both doing well, and to this whole MTL team pushing everything. Really appreciate all our work everyone's doing, for sure. Any questions for Dawn or Maria around hiring, or anything I can answer for anybody on either team around people metrics? All right. Dawn is out for a wedding this week. Laura Best is covering for both districts. So if someone emails you a P10, please forward it to Laura Best and CC me. Until that time that Dawn's back. I will tell you, we both jumped out of the gate as the top 2 districts because of easy texting, and we'll continue to leverage that to get people across the line in P10. You know, I'm okay if you do a P10 fair. I'm okay if you do that kind of thing with your people. My ask is, if you talk to someone about a P10, that you also mention small business and all the other pieces. But just great job, everybody, getting a really strong start on P10s. Wanted to turn it over to Gabby and Monica now. They haven't released a new scorecard since last week. I think they're focusing more on the return deadline that we have. Not the return deadline, but the return gate of 1031 to get tax pros paid. So they're not focusing on all this as much. But wanted to just hear from you guys what your thoughts were, if you could share with the team, and then if there's anything we can do to help support you. So Gabby, if you want to go first, and what's on your mind, how can we help and support? Can you hear me?
Hold on 1 minute. With client.
Oh, you were very staticky. What'd you say?
Oh, the client just walked in. I didn't hear that last piece.
Oh, I was just asking if you could just give us a SOP update on if there's anything you need for support or if anything you've got for the team.
Just we're putting in the schedules for Emerald Advance. And so I have a schedule in, but if you run an Emerald Advance office, review the schedules, make sure that I didn't leave anybody off. You might need more people in certain times. I just put a basic schedule in so we had a schedule so clients can start booking appointments. That's the big piece. And of course, we all need to be checking messages. I check them every day. Barbie's also checking them every day. But if you can check the messages for your area, you're better able to serve those clients. All we're doing is booking the appointment with you. So that's basically it for now.
Love it. And I'll go over the EA schedules with you guys on one-on-ones later this week. I think I've got one-on-ones with all of Chesapeake tomorrow and the next day. So I'll partner with you if you have any questions there too. And thanks, Gabby. Appreciate it. But Monica, anything from you for the team or anything you need from us?
I'm good on needing things. I easy text everybody that I had on my list, which is only like 50 some holes. So yeah. I did send them another easy text, just a reminder that our little coupon goes out at the end of the month. And I think I got one reply to that. So it's very slow. Emerald Advanced schedules, I've been working on that as well. And I think Brenda's been working on the ones for Virginia Beach, and I've been doing the ones for Norfolk. And yep. I think we're pretty done on that, other than CSPs that we still need to hire to enable us to put them on the schedule.
We're going to use ATLs for that, correct, Tyler?
I would prefer to, yeah, because then you can get them training, the new ones training a little bit and get them in the office so that they're engaged.
Monica and Brenda, we'll discuss that when we meet at 11.
I think we talked about EAs, using ATLs.
But I'll support whatever decision you guys want to do for your specific office, right? If you have a badass CSP and you don't have an ATL or whatever, right? Just do what makes sense.
Okay.
Cool. And anyone have any questions for Gabby or Monica around the stuff they've been running? All right. Now these next slides will go pretty quick, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. DNA did not update this morning, so I'm not sure how many, and Finn is not working either because they're having all sorts of data issues. So I don't know how, Gabby or anyone from Chesapeake, do you guys know how many returns we had yesterday actually finalized? I don't think.
Nope, not sure. Though.
Yeah, it's not updated anywhere. So as of yesterday, we had 32 returns to hit level 2 in Chesapeake. That's the number one focus we want to have because we want to be that people first, right? We want to take care of our tax pros. And right now it's like over 40 grand in bonuses being paid to our tax pros if we can close 32 returns by the 31st. So that's a big focus for all of us in Chesapeake for sure. Trying to get as many of those closed as possible because I would hate to only miss it by like 10 or 20 returns of really taking care of our tax pros. So ask here is that if you're a leader in Chesapeake, that you send people into the office to try to get them to close returns, that you use code for it, right? They're just looking at number of returns done. I'm okay if you mark, I would rather mark a handful of returns down to $1 to get them through that weren't going to close anyways to make sure we take care of our tax pros and do the right thing. So just some food for thought there. Let's really try to close those returns and get them through because we don't want to miss by just a hair. Unfortunately, this is what I see when I pull Virginia Beach up. I know you had a higher amount, but nothing's updated as of this morning in the hub, or they're having data issues. I know you guys had a higher number, but even if I don't know if you're guys are going to hit your tier 1, tier 2 thresholds, but just keep in mind that every return you get right now will make your goal for the tax season less, which makes it easier to hit your bonus, easier to hit your goals. So every return we can get now would really put us in a good position for tax season. So make that 10/31 an aggressive deadline, and then 12/31 will be another deadline just to hit as many returns as we can. Virtual, wanted to talk about that a little bit too. So you can ignore this left column. This is not as of yesterday. This is 2 days ago. But that far right column where it says percent use in green, that's the 7-day average for virtual. And I wanted to talk about it a little bit because it's such an important focus this year. So 30%, if you get a 30% virtual, you get a 100% payout of your virtual component of your bonus as a TL or MTL. If you get, that's 40%. If you get 40%, it doubles. So you get it double the amount of that bonus. But so why are we putting such a focus on virtual, or why am I putting such a focus on virtual this year? The company is as well, but one, it'll help your bonus. Two, the fulfillment network we keep talking about, where tax pros can pool returns, they're only going to be able to pull returns if they're above a 15% virtual. So if you think about the big picture here, the more you can get your people to focus on virtual and be proficient at virtual, it means you'll get more returns. Because I'm telling you, I was looking at some of these other districts and their fulfillment network tax pros. There's a district that spans 3 states that only has 2 fulfillment tax pros that are eligible. So meaning that when they go in to try to pull returns, a lot of those are going to time out, and we're going to be able to grab them. As of yesterday, it looked like we had about 15 tax pros who were eligible for virtual compared to some of these districts that have 0. So if we continue to focus on this virtual piece, it'll help us continue to pull a ton of these virtual returns from all across the country and help us easily hit our goals. Our tax pros easily get paid more and us make more bonus. It just makes more sense. They're also looking at using a virtual. They're using virtual to determine TPR stats as well this year. So it's not a threshold gate, but what they're doing is they're taking everyone who's eligible for TPR, which is the virtual returns in Workday and WorkCenter, and they're looking at the tax pros with the highest virtual percentage and giving it to them first. So, and they're going to continue to do it that way.
Question about that.
Yep.
So we here in Virginia Beach, we have some high performing virtual preparers.
Yep.
But their CES scores for virtual were all related around the system, not the tax pro itself. So that puts them in the red. Are we going to be able to get them out of the red?
So this is what I was told. I brought that question up on a call yesterday around TPR selection. And what I was told was, even though there were system issues, they looked at the percentage of tax pros for TPR this year versus last year, and the percentage was less than 0.01% off. So they're saying overall it's a very similar percentage of tax pros, even despite these tech challenges. What I will tell you is the file that I got that allowed me to pick TPR, they had a originally ineligible column and a column that says now eligible, like they built in us being able to add some of those people. My thought is, as soon as I get the finalized updated list for TPR, I'm going to turn on everyone that's eligible for it. I'll share it with you guys. And if you have someone you want turned on for virtual that is unable to be turned on for virtual, we can look at those by a case-by-case basis, and I can go to bat for them and talk to Susan McHugh, who's making those choices, and see if I can get her to turn them back on. So the company,
so as far as the list goes, you'll get Virginia Beaches as well.
Correct. Yep,
Okay.
Because I got mine for Chesapeake yesterday, and I reached out to Susan, who's running that program, and she said she's going to send me Virginia Beaches today.
All right, thank you.
Yep, and then we'll go a case. So the company, to answer your original question though, company is saying no, we can't turn them back on. I'm going to try to leverage the corporate relationship I have with the person in charge of it to see if we can turn those people on, and we'll go on a case-by-case basis. Does that make sense and answer the question?
It does, and I'm thankful that you'll go for the bats for them as well.
Yeah, for sure. The last thing on here is the company's doing a lot of pilots, and every time you have a pilot, one is good for our exposure, right? Two, it usually allows us to use extra tools and things that can help us. And three, a lot of times it ends up they tend to budget pilots to where it helps you more on your budget than hurts you, because they tend to be more cautionary to where they don't want it to impact you in a negative way. So you're usually eligible for more pilots if your virtual is higher as well. They're essentially looking at virtual as a gate of who can get it done and rewarding them with more bonus, more fulfillment, more TPRs. So the big translation here, try to get above 40%. For the last 7 days, Chesapeake's around 30% and Virginia Beach is at 16%. I would really strive to talk to all your tax pros each day around virtual and what it means and how we can get there. When we get to skills, we'll really break it down, but the change starts now. And that fulfillment tax pro piece that's going to be huge for you is really around trying to get each of your tax pros to at least a minimum of 15% so you can drive more returns. Does that make sense? Was that helpful breaking it down? Any questions around that? Okay. So number 1 focus is sales and virtual. Number 2 focus ATLs and first year tax pros. This is the ATLs more than anything. We already talked about it earlier, so I'm not going to drain this slide, but really just make sure you're protecting your role as you go into the tax season now by hiring good ATLs. If you're not getting good applicants, partner with Dawn or Maria and open up some more recs in your area and own it and go. I don't care. I'll pay you to go stand at a event fair or something to try to find ATLs or to open up more recs or whatever you got to do. We really want to get good, solid people in now. And I'm okay if you have them work now so that you keep them engaged. Just make sure we're trying to drive more productivity overall. But it goes back to that math equation we did on our last call, right? If we actually schedule these people and they drive more returns, then you're driving more productivity, so it doesn't matter. Last focus is the people metrics. So sales, ATLs, and then lastly, the people. Because right now, we really need to be driving the small business certs, the CEs, getting people to cert up, getting P10s completed, getting skills training done. Skills training isn't going to be on our tax pros for a while, but I just want you to be aware of it because it will add on there. Be thinking about it, be talking about it, and moving your people now so you're not chasing it down when skills and the holidays and everything else hits us. For my Chesapeake people, please send me an update each Friday around where your people are on these things. That sheet that is on our teams, everyone can access. You can update it there if you want and send it to me. Whatever works for you, but we'll be talking about it on one-on-ones, and I'd really appreciate an update each Friday. For Virginia Beach, I know you guys are driving this already. I don't want to micromanage you, how you're doing people by people, but continue to drive each of these things because it's going to make a big impact for you. Other items, the outpost. So just an update here. So want to clarify what the outpost offices are and who's impacted. As far as I know, Virginia Beach is not on the outpost office pilot. Chesapeake is. The Emporia and South Hill offices will not have any tax pros in office. They'll all be working from home. There will be a CCA sitting at the front desk at all times in those offices. The customers will come in and do digital drop off their documents, and then that external tax pro will complete it remotely. That's the only way they're going to do returns this year. You can leverage any part of virtual that you want, and more to come on that front. I have a call later today to learn more about it, and I'll partner and share what I learned. What I will tell you is DC did this for some big offices last year because they just didn't have the people to staff an office. And Maryland did this in several offices last year. And those offices maxed goal and hit huge virtual numbers. And it really helped them actually take care of customers where they didn't have enough tax pros. So it could be a huge win for us. And I want you to think about the future here, right? If we do well with this, what this could mean in 2 years is maybe we have 30 or 40 small remote offices with just a CSP up front, and maybe we only have 10 tax pros at home doing all the returns where we have 30 or 40 offices. Think of how many extra returns you can get, and it's a better work-life situation for the tax pro. It could be a huge win for us. More to come, right? So it's just, I ask everyone to lean in here and be open-minded, not that closed-minded, and see what we can do. Kronos issue, Virginia Beach, everyone's time should be fixed that sent it to me. Let me know if it's not, shoot me an email or text if it's not, and I'll chase it down. And I should have full access as of today and be able to adjust anyone's issues. And I appreciate everybody's patience there. I know that was not an easy thing to go through, but we're in the safe zone now. And then lastly, keep up with the self-study. I sent an update out on Monday for everybody. Please make sure you're doing the self-study learnings, and they're due the day before each learning lab call. So to be clear, our next learning lab that I sent out isn't this week. It's sometime late next week. The day before that call is when your actual self-study is due, and that's how they're doing the tracking. So make sure before the day before each learning lab that I send out that we complete those self-study skills. And then just to recap, top 3 things: the targets, the ATL hiring, and the people metrics each Friday. So I know it went through a lot of stuff. What questions do you have? What thoughts do you have? What's on your guys' mind?
So just to be clear, Emporia is not going to have anybody in the office except for a CSP who's going to be doing the scanning in documents and then handing back documents to the client.
Correct.
All right. So I gotta get my people's head around that.
Not yet. So,
well, not yet, but
cone of silence here. November 15th is the official launch date. I'm technically not even supposed to tell you yet, but I wanted to give you as much warning and let you know the situation because I think that's fair. So we will announce together to your team. Steve, I'll probably drive out and maybe we'll have like it in an office thing, or maybe we'll do it one by one on the phone or whatever. I'll include you with it. But there's actual talking points around how that whole conversation is going to go and what options they have and all sorts of stuff. So wait for me to have any of those conversations in South Hill or in Emporia. But I wanted you to know about what's going on.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to tell my people yet. It's just I got to get my head wrapped around trying to figure out how to tell my people, because they're gonna flip when it's time to tell them.
So, and this goes back to that open-mindedness, closed-mindedness thing. It's all about how we present it, right? So it's congratulations, you get to work from home now, right? That's going to be a big part of it. And then the other thing is they can also work in other offices. There's like 3 or 4 different options that the company is providing that we can talk about offline. But there's a whole process behind it, and I think it actually could be really good for them, for sure.
Tyler, for this pilot, we pretty much ran like that last year in a couple of our offices, due to the fact that we didn't have enough people. But is it going to be? I mean, why wouldn't they? Is Virginia not on there because nobody approached that that topic?
They went after. So the way that I was told about it was that Dan was contacted, and he said, who are like your top 2 DGMs who can execute something, and then he picked me and another DGM, and that's why we were picked, because it was, we can tip this team here. Probably you didn't have someone enroll that could execute at the time that they were making that choice, and then when they picked Chesapeake, it was like, hey, you and your team have been able to execute things, so we're giving you this. And I will tell you, there were a lot of districts that wanted to be on this pilot. And there were a lot of people upset that they weren't on the pilot. So it really can be a huge win for us, for sure. I would also say something that was said on one of the pilot calls is there's nothing stopping you from running an office in this format, and I'll support you if that's the case. Like if you have no staff somewhere, you really can run it like that. The other thing I think that was a factor here too is Chesapeake had one of the higher virtual percentages as far as tax pros hitting that 15%. So we have a lot of virtual tax pros that can submit and pull things from the fulfillment center. Whereas if you had a low virtual percentage last year, if you don't have tax pros that can pull those returns off the fulfillment center, then what's going to happen is it's going to go outside of your district. So I think that's another element too.
Are the offices still going to get credit for the returns, even if it's done by somebody associated with a different office?
Yep. So glad you asked that question, and let me reset a little bit here. The offices aren't going to have office goals this year. It's all district goal. The MTLs and TLs bonus off district level. I bonus off district level. The tax pros make IPP off the district goal. If you remember the way that they get paid this year, it's if the district hits this threshold, they get a payment. If they hit this threshold, they get a payment. So there actually won't be office goals for any office in the district. It's the overall district goal. And that's why it's key that everyone leans in on this fulfillment center piece. And it's all about, if you have someone that can't help the return, send it for fulfillment, someone in the district grabs it. Because the way it works is, say that I'm running an office and everyone in the office at the moment's a level 2. Say a return comes in that a level 4 tax pro needs to help. I can say, okay, sending it to the fulfillment center. Someone in Gabby's office can grab it and do it, and then it counts towards everybody's bonus and helps everyone instead of turning that customer away. So there are no office level. So to recap, no office level goals. It's everything is district level and working as a team, and it's part of this whole one team working together, better together. Wants to make sure everyone's on the same page. I don't know if you guys remember, but last year, I was talking about the CEO's #1 fear and what kept him up at night. Do you remember? Does anyone remember what that is? I told everybody on a couple calls. Do you guys remember? It was us cannibalizing our own returns, that offices were fighting over returns and trying to fight over customers, and it was making a bad customer experience. I think this is part of his fix for that. Any questions about that? Does that make sense?
Will the excuse me, will the customer be able to choose their tax pro?
Yep. So there's 2 ways something can go into the fulfillment center. One of them is if they come into the office and say, hey, I want to get this return done, and you don't have someone that can do it, or if it's one of the outpost offices, and then we say, sure, we're going to knock that out for you. I'm going to, send this to our fulfillment center where a tax pro will take care of it right now. And that's if they walk in and they don't have a tax pro already. If they already have a tax pro, say I went to Emporia and Steve did my return last year, and I want to put it in I want Steve to do my return, then it doesn't go into the fulfillment center. I say, hey, I'm here to do my return. Steve was my tax pro last year. They do digital drop off and give it to Steve, and Steve does the return. The only other way that something can get to the fulfillment center is if with this whole block money thing that's rolling out and these online returns, say I go online to do a tax return, and it says, hey, do you want Teresa helped you last year? Do you want Teresa to do your return? Yes. And then I go through the steps. She gets it in her fulfillment center scheduled to her already. If I say, no, I don't have a preferred tax pro, or no, I didn't like the way Teresa helped my return, then it goes up for grabs. And the way that it works is as soon as something's in the fulfillment center in your district, it sits in your district for 8 hours. And that 8 hours, anyone from the district can pull it if it's not classed to a specific tax pro. Then after 8 hours, it goes to the company. So it's going to be key that we constantly look at that fulfillment center and work center, and we'll have training around it. Like I said, Kyle Trisserolis, who I work very closely with all the time, is actually going to be inheriting this project. And I have a weekly call with him. And he's already talking about putting us on some early pilots for us and letting us be a big part of that process. So once this rolls out and we know more and actually get to look at it, I'll be able to get any answers to any questions we have around it.
Are they looking at this training to be in November or December? Any idea?
Which training around the fulfillment center?
Yes.
Great question. No idea. Kyle doesn't know yet. He's moving right now to home office. As soon as he knows more, he's going to share with me and I'll share with you guys. Right now, it's kind of a pie in the sky. This is what we want to do. We've built the baseline for it. It's going to happen before tax season. The thought is the training's going to hit, and then during tax season, it should be live. And then our districts, specifically Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, should have access to it before then because I'll be working with Kyle around it. That's how I see it right now. Does that make sense?
It does.
I wish I had more dates and more info, but they just haven't been released yet. I've been told the whole tool's been built out. It just needs to go live. My guess is as we hit virtual skills, they ask for the work center piece that we're in off. I don't know if you guys recall, but we have to be in office with the tax pros. The tax pros have to be in office for those skills in December. My guess is that's when it's going to be live, and that's when we're walking through it. That's the way I do it. Because otherwise it doesn't make sense to have everyone in person for work center skills when they've all used work center before. So that's my guess. My guess is the December.
Have they already been doing beta testing, or are they looking for some people to help with beta testing on it? Because I would like to be part of that.
They pilot tested it before they launched it in a couple of districts, I think in California and DC, and it was a huge success. Yeah, they looked at conversion rates of actually converting customers, and it was much, much higher. And the reason they're launching it is because it helped a ton. So I don't know if you guys remember last year, Dan was talking, we were kind of trying to do a version of it without this tool about sending them to different districts and offices and stuff. It wasn't worded the best when it was launched because people were worried it was going to go out to a, like we were worried that we're going to pull them for different offices in different districts and stuff. And then we sent out a communication to tax pros saying, hey, need you to close your holds or they're going to be moved. We were trying to use some sort of a fulfillment center kind of thing on paper with forms, and it was kind of a mess. But this is the company saying, hey, here's a solution. Because you as the leader will be able to move holds to the fulfillment center if you want to. What else is on your guys' mind? Awesome. Well, after I finish the call here, I'll send out P10 info to everybody so you can see where your P10 stuff is because that's been updated. And then Chesapeake, if you guys can just continue to use that tracker and talk to your people to move them through. Sales, ATLs, and the people metrics. Those are our top 3 right now for sure. If anyone needs anything, feel free to call me or text me. I'm in calls until around 4:30 today, but if you text me, I can answer. And I'm here for you. Thanks for everything, guys. If you need anything, reach out. Talk to you guys later.